Welcome back to the channel, and we're continuing my series discussing the Diddy case and narcissism and how a lot of complex PTSD, abuse, some maybe sociopathic, antisocial personality disorder traits are coming to the surface. Over here as a therapist, I use my platform to break the stigma, help educate, using pop culture, reality TV to help you guys. And so this Diddy case, I've been seeing a lot of narcissistic traits, a lot of antisocial things, okay? And some of you guys have been through some of the same experiences. You're living with somebody, working with somebody. You have a family member who might just be narcissistic. You might be trying to heal from being in a relationship with someone who is a narcissist. Your mama, your daddy, your ex, your boyfriend you're trying to co-parent with, your friends, okay? And one pivotal thing when it comes to narcissists and how they are able to gain power, coerce, and isolate their victims is by having a pack of people around them, okay? But in the world of psychology, we refer to those type of people as flying monkeys. You're like, girl, flying monkeys now. What you talking about? Well, let's get into it. Make sure you hit that like, you subscribe, you do all the do to support this channel. But what are flying monkeys when it comes to narcissism? Okay, and narcissist. When people discuss narcissists, they sometimes use the phrase flying monkeys. Flying monkeys are referred to people who carry out the work of a narcissist or an abusive person. It often comes from the, Wizard of Oz, seeing those flying monkeys and the witch and all those things put together, and how they were able to help her put the spell, people under a spell. Okay? You see a lot of these people, these enablers, people around. I think in the Diddy case, there's been so many enablers, so many people who didn't speak up. Some of it could have been out of fear. Okay? They serve as a backup to the narcissist. And always, no matter what, show loyalty, because you know what? Narcissists thrive off loyalty. And they're going to support the narcissist no matter what. This could be anyone. Okay? They are just as guilty as a narcissist. But now that, everyone's starting to come out and, I don't want to get caught up in the RICO. I don't want to get caught up in this. Haven't we been seeing that? We've been seeing a lot of silence in Hollywood from some of the flying monkeys to me, because we see pictures of all these people who were at the parties. Well, I wasn't at that party. I left before that party started. Okay. But where's the Kevin Harts? Okay. We're all these people who were mingling. And recently, a couple months ago, a bodyguard came up, Joe Sherman, also known as Big Joe. Now, we've heard him in the case. Okay. Now, he was previously a security guard. Okay. He was a bodyguard. What was he really bodying? What was he really guarding? Now, he feels like people are lying on him. I'm just trying to live my life. Insert that whole R. Kelly situation. But let's listen.
It's a lie on me. That's all I'm saying.
Big Joe Sherman wants you to look at his face and listen.
I don't know this lady from anywhere.
You've never met her.
Never in my life.
He's talking about this woman, Thalia Graves, who appeared at a highly promoted news conference last week with attorney Gloria Allred.
The trauma of the assault has taken a toll.
Now, are we going to take the Gloria Allred cases with a grain of salt, or is it just believe victims? Okay, let me know.
On my,
because I don't know.
Mental health.
The attorney for Graves announcing a federal lawsuit claiming that in 2001, the then 25-year-old was drugged and bound and viciously raped in the Manhattan headquarters of Bad Boy Entertainment by music mogul Sean Diddy Combs with his bodyguard and head of security, Joe Sherman.
I'm not questioning her integrity. I'm questioning her claims against me. I wasn't head of the security. You got the wrong man. I've never seen you. I've never did anything negative with you. I've never been in the same room with you. Not only wasn't I there, I wasn't even in New York.
Sherman says he did security for Bad Boy Records in the 90s, but wasn't working for the company in 2001.
Here's me and Mariah Carey.
Sherman provided us with his personal album of photos with celebrity clients. He says he's protected over the years.
Man, I wasn't at that situation, but I was there for everything else. Now look at all the photos that I've had in my phone for what, 25 years to show that I was a part of it, but I wasn't a part of that now. Okay, I wasn't a part of that. This is a prime example of a flying monkey who's been caught up. And now he's trying to save himself. Okay. But all these years you've done stuff. You've been a protector of Diddy for so long. Okay. Now with all these allegations against Diddy, using his wealth, his power, you were part of the inner circle. And you also probably helped create a system of silence and intimidation like the flying monkeys do. Now, all of a sudden, because there's a civil suit, it wasn't me. I don't know you. And it's so interesting now to see all these people. Let's go down the list of all the handlers. Okay, I made a list, okay, of his inner circle. Key roles, all right? You got Sal, who is a co-founder, who also manages the weekend. Amir Cash, who's also the co-manager of the weekend and joined Combs management along with Sal. Okay. Now, who was in charge of his public image? Natalie Moore, longtime advisor, business and branding. Okay, you got all these people, personal assistant. Now, we've heard from Capricorn Clark, but as of me recording this video, we have not heard from Christina, who was the chief of staff to Combs, described as working side by side daily. Another flying monkey, okay, and spearheaded many of his projects and events. Combs has suggested she played a key role in managing his affairs. So I'm gonna need her to come to the stand, okay? George Kaplan, another former assistant who testified about the security personnel Diddy hired and also about setting up the F-offs, the freak-offs. More about security. Diddy hired a more professional and polished security team in 2015. So I'm gonna need to hear from them other security guards. Where they at? Where they at? Okay. Several of Diddy's former assistants, employees have testified in his ongoing ex-trafficking and RICO case, offering insight into the personal life and the alleged environment he fostered. He fostered an environment of intimidation and silence. And if you cross me, you could disappear. You know what happened when people try and cross me or talk back, right? They disappear. Okay. All these employees are now coming up saying that they were in association and participated and turned a blind eye to coercion and abusive behavior. Capricorn Clark herself testified and described a culture of fear where people enabled and harmed, are intimidated, or were afraid to intervene. Like she talked about being kidnapped to go unalive Kid Cudi. Now let's get into the psychological functions of flying monkeys. They protect the abuser, their image. They attack the victim's credibility, gaslighting on a group level. So not only that, you have the people who are gaslighting these victims who are in the inner circle, or still might be. And then you have the gaslighting of the internet. Okay. And so when you go up there to testify and speak up, these people have to be feeling the overwhelming just that the world is against them. And the internet loves to spread misinformation. Watch the movement of some of these people, doxing some of these people, along with the flying monkeys who are doing the same thing. So you have the core circle of flying monkeys who isolate victims, spread information. They keep a watch on their movements. You saw in my last video how I talked about Capricorn being taken to a warehouse and given a lie detector test and being left there. Diddy showing up to her house with a gun, threatening, making guilt trips. It is psychological welfare. Okay? The things that this woman has been through is psychological welfare. You don't know really when you've been in a narcissistic relationship or that these other people around them function as flying monkeys. Some of you have never even heard that term before until you're out of it. Until you're out of it. And I think she's one of those people who probably didn't, maybe she's just realizing it. I don't really know, because she seems to still be in that trauma, that trapped trauma. Because even last year, she was still trying to help him. She was still trying to help him. And it is really hard to get away from a narcissist. When they feel like you're trying to escape, what do you think happens? And some people have been trying to speak up and talk about this for so long, but I don't think people are really ready to hear. Wendy Williams, Jaguar, right? Some of the people she's been talking about online, y'all haven't wanted to hear from 50 Cent. Okay. Now we know they've had a long-term beef. 50 and Diddy. And she talked about the whole thing also in her, looks like she talked about it also. In one instance, Clark described traveling with Combs to MTV for a press engagement, overhearing him tell a security guard that he didn't like nonsense and people, but he did like guns. Okay, he did like guns. Rapper 50 Cent, who had been trolling Diddy online throughout the trial, was also at MTV that day. Clark said, claiming Combs had an issue with 50 Cent. Okay, let's pull this up.
Now, where we just wrapped up day 8 of witness testimony in the criminal trial of Sean Combs. We started the day with more testimony from a government special agent who described conducting a raid of one of Sean Combs' residences, where he found drugs like ketamine and MDMA, where he found guns, and where he found baby oil and other lubricants. Then we heard from a former personal assistant to Sean Combs, George Kaplan. George Kaplan talked about how he worked for Sean Combs from 2014 to 2015. He also talked about setting up hotel rooms for Sean Combs, where Combs would stay for between 12 hours and a couple days.
Oh, he know he cooked. He know he cooked.
He said he would set them up with clothing, with food, with drugs. He would also clear up empty bottles. Those empty bottles included empty Gatorade bottles, empty liquor bottles, and empty baby oil bottles. Tomorrow, we expect more testimony from George Kaplan, and then we expect to see Kid Cudi, rapper Kid Cudi, on the stand.
Can y'all imagine, like, all the people who had to be cleaning up all that stuff? You know, it was part of your job to prepare, set up, clean up. Okay? Being somebody who was a housekeeper at them hotels after a Diddy night, and you gotta go through that because you want to take care of your kids. You try to put them in college. You try to pay the bills over your head. So you unfortunately are in this situation where you're having to clean up these messes. Okay. And when it comes to flying monkeys also, what do we think about the kids? Y'all out there adults. Would y'all consider them flying monkeys? Are they just victims of his abuse? They've been around it so long. They're gonna stand by their daddy. They're gonna stand by their daddy. Okay? You gotta think, people become flying monkeys. Fear. They're afraid of retaliation or losing their position. Loyalty or manipulation. Abusers convince the victims they deserve the punishment. You've been bad. Or similar in this case with Capricorn, she watched, allegedly, Cassie be beat. And so that was an example. That happened to you. Okay? Personal gain is another one, number 3. Financial or status benefits, which we see everyone has benefited from being around Diddy. Cognitive dissonance. Easier to believe the victim is overreacting than admit they're complicit. Easier to believe the victim is overreacting than to admit they're complicit. Point the finger. Similar to that video I showed y'all. Let's go back to it.
Years.
Me and Beyonce.
He says he did see Diddy at industry parties after Sherman left the company, but there was no relationship. Big Joe maintains he is being set up by false accusations.
Her and whoever that she's in cahoots with was orchestrating a money grab, and she wanted me to be part of that money grab. It says it right.
Of all the people from the last 25 years, why would she name you a nobody if it's a money grab? Of everybody that's surrounded by Diddy, all the flying monkeys, she would take it all the way back to random Big Joe.
In her Texas. She wanted to get Diddy.
Sherman showed us texts from an Instagram account starting last November. He says his team has linked to Graves. We confirmed the connection. The first text asked if Sherman was a security guard for Puffy.
She confused me because she kept saying, "Are you Big Joe?" I said, "You're on my Instagram."
When she asked, "Are you Big Joe?" what did that mean to you?
That means that she don't know who I am.
The text asked him to call the number and goes on to say, if you will be my witness against Diddy, then my attorneys will leave you out of any proceedings because we have statements that you physically showed over 8 people, videos of me and you to people in the studio. Sherman responded, I don't know what the expletive you talking about. Know who the expletive you
The way
are.
she read
It
it.
was still named in the lawsuit.
Was there any video?
Not only was there never a video, I never saw the woman. I'm nothing but a scapegoat for this BS. Because I wouldn't get Puffy and lie on Sean Combs.
We reached out to Allred, asked.
What did I just say? Cognitive dissonance, easier to believe the victim is overreacting than to admit they're complicit. So maybe you didn't engage in anything physical, but were you there? Were you there? Okay. Now let's talk about the mental health impact on these victims. They experience betrayal, not only harmed by the abuser, but also the people they thought they could trust. The people they thought they could trust. Increases symptoms of complex PTSD, paranoia, chronic anxiety and isolation, learned helplessness, feeling like escape isn't just hard, it's impossible. So when y'all say why they go back, I don't know if mentally some of these people have really escaped what they have gone through, have really escaped working for him. The learned helplessness, we're seeing it. When they say, well, you tried to help him last year, you tried to work for him again in 2020. All that, it's in their minds. They haven't really worked through it. And these, the high-powered music industry, entertainment, tech, Narcissists can build a mini empire of fear. They aren't just bosses. They're orchestrating systems of emotional and sometimes physical exploitation. Abuse hides in NDAs, celebrity status, power hierarchies. Those NDAs are also power tools. Okay? So ask yourself, if you were ever asked to sign an NDA now, would you? Would you? Okay? Flying monkeys don't have to wear wigs to do damage. Sometimes they wear suits, they carry titles, and collect checks. Silence is complicity, and survivors deserve to be heard. They deserve to be heard. So when you think about flying monkeys, think about your own dynamic. If you have a narcissistic parent, is it the aunties, the uncles? Who's enabling them so that you become still fearful, trapped? Okay? Now let me know what you guys learned from this video, what came up for you. What do you still want to discuss? And if you were enjoying this video and you got to the very end, you know, put me some stars in the chat. Let me know you got to the end. Support your girl. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.